WW is 9 syllables. It is not an abbreviation.
But that is how you work out.
That's called splitting hairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm expert at, splitting hairs.
Okay, let's come back to
Reality.
big history. So last week, yes, please.
Albert, can I give you 2 bits of information now, please?
Yes, please.
Joe Demko, who was in our group, would be here, but he can't buy the hardware, the camera, to connect with us. The school kids are taking it, so he misses out. He also sent something to you by email, which was a video on China, and he asked me if he wanted to make sure you had it, and he asked if I had a personal email address for you, and I said, no, I don't, just the U3A one. Did you? And I said I'd let him know whether you got it or not.
Okay, I will have a look at my email address after this to confirm whether I got that. These days, I'm not checking my email as often as WhatsApp.
Oh, really?
This would have been a week to 2 weeks ago.
Okay, I will check it. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Okay, let's go back to our big history. Today we are talking about discussion on the video last week on the origin of life. So the first thing I want to emphasize is this is about the origin of life. That's how lives originate from inorganic system. We know that life is an organic system, and then outside the life we call it inorganic. That means they don't have life. So I think the issue here is we need to define what is life first, and then find out how life originate from something not life. So anyone want to suggest a definition for life?
Something that multiplies itself or lives on one generation to another.
Okay, so 2 points here. Cell replicate becomes the cell replicate, and then there's a generation idea from one generation to the second generation. So let's say cell replicate. Let's say eventually when our automation becomes successful, okay, so suppose, then we might have machine making machines. Well, nowadays machines make machines, but at least with the human intervention at the moment in between the stage. But later on, now we also know that nowadays some computers actually design other things. For example, the computer chips that we use within computers is so complicated now, it is designed by software.
Yeah.
So computers are designing computers. And then because of the small size of the CPU itself is so small, actually it's beyond our ability to manipulate. So it is using machine to make the CPUs, and they are fully automated in clean rooms. So I think it's just about 2 or 3 generations later, we will have a complete process of computer designing computers, and then that design will automatically control making of the computers, and then that computers may be able to. Will we call that life?
No.
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 So what's the difference then?
It's only a machine. It can self-replicate or rebuild parts of itself.
Now, okay. Now the machine here, we have a very good idea that a machine is a inorganic material, inorganic form. It is not life form. And then we have life form, but there is a distinction here. But where is that distinction? Now, I think that comes in other arguments as well. In, for example, abortion.
Yeah.
When an egg is fertilized, Is that life?
Well, it's starting to be, yes.
It's starting to be.
Yeah.
So
And then
at
you get
which
into the
point it is
legal
life and which
argument,
point it's
what
not
stage
life?
you did, or
Well,
it isn't.
that's which came first, the chicken or the egg. But what you were saying about a computer self-replicating, and I would say the important thing there is the word self. The computer has to be programmed by a human being to replicate.
At
And
the moment,
therefore-
yes, but it will eventually. Now,
Uh,
for example, now we always say driving is very difficult to automate because there are so many different parameters on the road. But now China has one city putting in 300 taxis per week, and these taxis are automatically driven, driverless city, a taxi. So the taxi come out with no driver. You call it using your apps on your phone. The taxi will come to you, and then you enter the taxi, put in the address you want to go to, and then bum, the taxi go there. And then you pay through the apps. So the whole taxi now is driverless. They are
Yeah,
ramping
but-
that up at a rate of 300 new such taxis per week,
but you're
instead of
getting
ramping
away
up
from-
all together at the same time, because they're still a little bit of testing.
How
So
often
You were
does-
talking about self-duplication, and
Well,
driverless
that is-
taxis is a different thing.
uh,
I still say that getting back to the original self-duplication, a computer will never be able to do that without human interference at some stage, writing something into the program for the computer, which will allow it to do so.
yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine. Now I understand that we need a little bit of kickstart from the human. Okay, human started to kickstart a program, and then the program might be able to improve
Yeah.
based on more data.
Yeah.
And then that self improvement up to certain point will be able to build itself. It's just a matter of time. We are waiting to see that coming up. But will a robot like that ever be live?
No, if I can add to that, I was going to say something what Albert said there. The program, the self-replicating machine has got the parameters around it. It can't create a war machine and drop a nuclear weapon on Australia, US or China. If we come back to driverless cars, I was going to make the point, and I've sort of read where if a driverless car is going along, there's something going to happen in front. It's got to make a decision. You've got an old couple slowly going over the road, and it might avoid them, but the alternative is it's going to hit a young family of 5 young children. Which one does it do? Neither's palatable. So how do the programmers for driverless cars get around this?
Okay,
You know,
that comes
that's-
in the moral
that's
issue
sort of thing as
of
an issue.
yeah. That comes in. That means there's
Number of
another issue that
fuels
Nah,
is in
but-
the program.
about that moral issue. We still say, for example, a plant is alive, right? But do plants have this moral choice?
No,
So that is not a distinguishing feature for life then. I understand your argument, okay? Yes,
Okay.
for us
Mhm.
human, we do have a moral level of moral standards, right?
yeah.
If you below that moral standard, we'll say, oh, you are not human, you are just another creature. But we are talking about the distinction between life and non-life, not life. So moral is not a choice. It's not a distinction. So you suggested two things. Self-replicating is a distinction, but I'm just trying to push that to you is that eventually at some point in the future, not too far away, we might have self-replicating machines.
Uh,
Of course, that
Look-
self-replicating machine will have a kickstart from human, okay? But again, looking back in life, life is now replicating, right? We see a whole lot of life, but at the very beginning of the life, how does it start? Is that kickstarted by some intelligence, or can the environment somehow kickstart this replicating process? That is the origin of life.
The difficulty I see is that when the DNA molecule, that I can sort of imagine in some pond of goo, a DNA might emerge, and that will multiply because it will, with a change in temperature, hot, cold, it will replicate. But there's a big, huge step to get from a replicating molecule into a cell.
Yeah.
And that's the step that I can't get my head around. I can't see how you get to that point and then build more complicated organisms. So that's
Yeah,
what I get
that-
stuck with.
Yes, please.
Yes, sorry. Good morning, everybody. That called things. There's a life, and there's no life. Even the organic. So what we can see, those we are talking about. So it started with a single molecular cells. From there, then it developed into the complication, and then even plant still there's a life, animal still is alive, stone also there's a life, because the stone, the crystal, it can continues to grow. Otherwise, it wants to become the stone. And then you can see that it's from the very single molecular structure that creates some of the structure and then come to the crystallinity and then amorphous and so on. And that's going through and through and through and up. And you are saying that we are in a human and an animal. And that is already come to the very complicated situation. Things, they are life and that they are not life. So we cannot say it's like just right now, 3D system. You can just compute it, and then you can make a 3D everything you want to do. Even just before here, the human scarf, nothing is scarf. They can make a scarf to make it, and then even a clone of an animal, clone of a monkey, and that is also the life. I mean, even they are cloning the human being. As far as I know, that 20 years ago it's already started. And even some of the human life down here, there, no one's dare to say.
They have already successfully cloned humans.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. But
I'm sure you're right.
Those
Yeah.
we are talking about is a human complete. It's very advanced things.
Yeah.
But we are talking of a single life and the single molecular, and that as everything is growing, even the plant, even the crystal, or what I mean. Something like a stone, you don't see the stone, but there is a life. Even the small stone, there is also a life down here. Because why? Because there's a manic, there's a molecular, there's a wavelength inside down there, and you can use the electronic to check this wavelength.
So
Sorry.
so we make a distinction first. We talk about crystals, right? A crystal, for example, a salt crystal or a copper sulfate crystal. They all grow out of initially a solution, okay, of that material, and then it eventually grow and bigger. But we don't call it life.
What about this, Albert?
Yeah.
A time-lapse photography on a substance that's, I don't know what you call it, grown in a Petri dish.
Yeah.
And it's wanting to spread out. So there's obviously single-cell things that are replicating itself. So they have one Petri dish with that happening. They have another one in contrast that had a substance in a few different select spots that wouldn't do this other the first substance any good. And it can come up close to it, sense it, and then move away from it. So it doesn't grow to that substance and then die off around the end. It just doesn't go there. It has a respective distance from it, and it grows out in other areas where there's the food source on the Petri dish or the substance on the Petri dish to allow it to replicate.
Sensory.
Sensory, yes, sensory.
It can sense something around. It have a reaction to the environment, so that it will respond differently to the environment. If we trying to abstract that out, and then, well, go back to the crystal. Suppose we have a solution of two different salts, and then I put in one of the salt initial crystal to start the crystallization process. Then on the other on the same Petri dish, I put another crystal of the other type. Then you will see that the two crystals will be growing with all the components for that crystal. They don't mix. So in that sense, we still seems to have that sense that we know that this is growing for this group and this is growing for that group. So now, I think we need to go back to the very original idea proposed about the DNA. We are talking about at the beginning, so it must be very, very simple. Now, to be very simple, that means it might not have a very long chain replicating DNA or RNA or whatever. That topic I will deal with next week. I will deal with the information passing between different generations. But initially, that replicating molecule probably is so simple that it's just replicating, just like crystals. Crystals get replicated, but of course, crystal is simple in the sense that it's mostly a single molecule, whereas in this more organic way, the replicating molecules might be much complicated, longer. And then, yes?
Sorry, look, would you excuse me? I'm going to go back about 10 minutes in the conversation.
Yep.
When Cyril and you, Albert, were talking about cars driverless cars, and the situation where they had to either kill one person over there or other people over there. Something that's always concerned me for the last 10 or 15 years. When I was a teenager and a 20-year-old, I used to read a lot of science fiction. Who knows Isaac Asimov?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do? Yeah.
Yeah.
Isaac Asimov wrote a lot of books on robots. He actually invented or brought the word robot from Czechoslovakian, I think it was, and put it into general language. But he had rules that were built into every robot. And rule number one was a robot cannot harm a human being. And you've now got drones, which are
harmful to human beings.
Which are harming human beings. And Cyril, your example of the driverless car is a second example of robots harming human beings. So
the driverless car might harm human beings, but not necessarily harm human beings. But we have now drones, which are at the moment purpose of the drone is to harm human beings.
Well, one of the
Some
purposes.
okay. Some drones' purpose is to harm human
Yeah,
beings.
Yeah,
But-
yeah.
well,
Some
wouldn't you-
drones. Some
Wouldn't you
drones.
split that in two and say it's not the drone doing it, it's the armament on it and the way it's programmed. So the drone doesn't self decide it's going to go up and grab hold of this weapon, take it up, fly over from an enemy's territory into yours and drop it on your head.
That's absolutely correct. And the point of Asimov was his first rule of robotics was that
Harm no human.
every single robot had this program built into it that it could not harm a human being.
Yes.
Sorry, Albert, Isaac.
Yeah.
That is initially I also have been watching that robot would never harm any human being. However, one that is because they have been designed, none of them have been designed some of a sensitive feeling, and unless you have already inserted the certain of a formulation and which insert some of a feeling which they can create the feeling, and they will be creating the hate and the love, and from there they will just if they already dislike it, they will just hurt you. Even the robot, because the inside there is already have some program. The program is first of all they have to protect. Otherwise, after they beyond the protect, then they can do the same things. So
Look,
that is one thing. But then,
Correct.
talking about the useless, the humanness people in the city or in anywhere here, they have some sense of a super computer system over there to control the whole system, and then the car itself also have a sensor to look at it, the distance. Is there any human? Is there anything? And then they also have a programming on the city, and that's why they can do it.
Oh, look, you're absolutely correct. And Isaac Asimov must be turning in his grave to see that what he perceived has just gone out the window.
Well, he
Because you can see that in America, there's also I watching that movie when I was there, that they have a son love his mother, so give the robot to help his mother or his not sensitive, but is some moving ability problem, and taking care of the mother. And then one day, that robot becomes some of a more sensitive thing, and the robot disliked the mother, and then almost trying to kill her. And then that is because the son realized that he's something wrong. He installed one of the sensitive thing inside there, and that is why he's also killed. Trying to kill his mother.
now this is another region which I think will be very interesting to explore. Is the robotics, especially about robots which will interact closely with human. Now there are most of the robots today that are machine robots which helps build things. For example, in a car manufacturing, there's a lot of robots doing the welding, doing the placement of things, this kind of stuff. But eventually, when robots enter into our everyday life, like in China, there are some restaurants served completely by robots. You order your food on a screen, then you sit down. The cameras will track you. This is you ordering, you sit here, so they know where you sit. And then, of course, when you order the food, the other robot in the kitchen started preparing the food, and then put it on a tray, and then another robot carry that to the table for you to pick it up. Now, these are all real today. It's real today. It's not fiction anymore. It's real today. They are
That,
Yeah, I was going to
yes,
say
that began
that,
as early as 40 years ago. There was a restaurant in Albert Park near the lake where waiters did not take your order. Every table had a telephone. Does anybody else remember this restaurant? And
Yeah.
you do, yes. You went to the telephone and gave your order, and there was a human waiter who brought it out for you. But this is the beginning, and that would be 40 years ago, Cyril?
yeah. Well,
Yes,
not
yes.
too long ago, there are some restaurants in Richmond, a Japanese restaurant, where when you come in, the waiter give you a iPad type of thing. You sit down and then you pick up your select what you want on the iPad, and then when the waiter get you the food, take the iPad from you, and then for the other people, that's happening.
Yes, yes. I've been to one in Bridge Road, Richmond. You're quite right.
I remember
Absolutely.
there's also a McDonald's like that
Oh,
in Springwell Road,
gee.
Yeah.
opposite
Before you-
the Grand.
Before you brought this up, I was going to add something that this fits into also. Some things can't be done today, or if we go back 100 years, some of these things couldn't be done. Someone has a dream. What if we had this sort of ordering? It's impossible at the time, it's make-believe, but in smaller steps, it's worked to along with other developments. Jules Verne say 20,000 leagues under the sea, these submarines. Impossible. How could you breathe down there? How could you make something to move along? What would happen to your air supply? It would deplete. And all these sort of things over time have been overcome. And actually, if you think about it, the most advancement of humankind of developments, unfortunately, has happened in wars where you have a need to do something. People are injured. How can we patch Cyril up when he gets half a leg blown off? Well, okay, we try this, but eventually he loses a leg. Now we've got some idea we can do this and do that. Even with the war in Iraq, I see there one night that the medicos they've developed things to help people when they lose a leg. Their mates have got to get onto and put the pressure bandages, and these pressure bandages actually have a lever on it to tighten up to lessen the blood depletion. And they've got special helicopters, bigger ones, that'll come with a doctor and a nurse, medevac them out, and they've been able to, where the survival rate before was very low, they've increased it up, not 100%, but very high percentages.
Yeah. Look,
So it's remarkable when there's a need, you find an answer. Someone finds an answer because they get the brainwaves.
Well, that
Look,
go to
there
the
are
other
so-
direction of what we are discussing. We were discussing the origin of life. Now we are seeming to
We've got
to-
to wait.
go
you
right
are
through
right.
in the future about the integration of life with machine.
Yeah.
Well, this is a machine, isn't it? Almost all of us wear glass. This is a machine.
Yeah.
The machine is very simple for this one, but some people might have a heart pace. Is that called pacer?
Pacemaker.
Pacemaker. Yep.
The pacemaker, yeah.
Yeah, there's a more complicated machine, and as Cyril mentioned, we have amputees lost the feet. They now have artificial limbs which actually run faster than a human limbs.
Look, there are so many simple things in all our houses which were originally invented during the war. So many inventions do go back to wartime. The one I'm thinking of particularly is the non-stick
Non-stick
frying
pans.
pan.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the surface of the non-stick frying pan was invented, I think, during the Vietnam War.
For
Or Korean
the
War.
space aircraft.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But,
It's
so it's
invented
not
during
actually
the
war.
space race.
Right. Yeah.
Well, for example,
Cold War.
internet.
The Cold War.
Internet is also originated from the Department of Defense
Yes.
from America. Yeah. So the humans, but let me get you all back to the beginning. We are now branching into too much in the future. It's nice talking, but we will deal with it later on in the course. Let's go back to the very beginning.
Go back to the single
Yeah.
cell.
The divide between life and non-life is a very difficult subject. Very, very difficult. So I don't think we will come to any conclusion anytime soon because it is really difficult. So with that in mind, then the videos last week point us to some possibility of how life started. It might start from initiated from outer space, but that doesn't answer any question because if we initiate to outer space, we will still have to ask how is that initiated outside. Okay, so we still have the same question. Another question is it might have started in the undersea air vents. So that's
Yeah, I've
another
read some of
possibilities.
that,
Yeah,
yes.
and it might have been started on the surface of the sea and the shore with that tidal movement, with that organic material, and then the organic is starting to grow longer and longer. But these are all the possibilities. Now, when we have a long chain molecule started to replicate, is that life yet? Probably
No.
not. So there is still a long way before we say, okay, we see life. The problem for big history is all this evidence. If we want to collect evidence, it is very difficult to find today. It will be so small. If it ever exists, it will be so small. We can't find it. Given the weathering, everything happening on Earth, and wiping out all the evidence over and over again. So every time when the Earth change over for something, some evidence has been wiped out, but some will be kept in the deposits layer by layer. It only a matter of time for this to flip up because of, again, tectonic movements. Then we can start exploring. But the problem is, even when that evidence come up, we might not know that it is there because it might have fossilized. It lost its carbon, for example. So when its carbon is lost, we won't see the chain and we won't be able to detect it. So this original life thing will be a mystery for very long time to come. So
when you talk about when did life start?
Yes, that's a very good question. But we know that life has started on Earth. We are here.
No, but what I was going to say, when did life start? And this, of course, is the crux of the abortion debate.
Okay, you're going to that start rather than that start. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there are some people who say that life started, or human life starts when you come out of the womb. There are others who say that human life starts as soon as a sperm hits an egg. So you've got this debate, and I know you don't want to go into it now, but the whole question of when did life start, and even when did human life start, is very debatable.
Yep, it's a very difficult subject. I totally agree. But that is already life. Now, do you call it egg life? unfertilized
no.
egg.
That's the question.
That is the
big
question. Yes, that is the question. Now, there is example of eggs developing into a life without a sperm. For some species, I think it's a fork. For some species, you might have an egg, and then if you stimulate the egg by punching it using a needle, it is not sperm. Okay, you collect a unfertilized fork egg on a petri dish, and then you use some method to punch it, then it will start to form a fork. But that fork is infertile. It cannot be, just like is that mule, horse and donkey? Is that horse and donkey cross together?
Horse.
Now,
and-
that animal, that mule is infertile. It cannot reproduce, but it is still live.
Yeah. Albert Meng had his hand up for
Huh?
some time.
Sorry?
Meng, you were wanting to say something.
Oh, sorry. Let me see.
I thought you had your hand up before.
Yes, my name is Sam. Yeah, and
I beg your pardon.
Oh, it shows Meng a lot, Sam now, but Meng a lot of the time.
no, so because it's this computer we are selling with my wife, and she has this her meeting and my so sometimes we forgot to change the yeah.
Okay.
People doesn't want to change. Okay, we are talking about the life, the single life, the single cell, the life itself. But you say even the sperm itself is alive. It's already live down there. But how to become the human being is become of a complexity and that development. So now we are talking about that. Even human being, we also have some of a development. If it's going to the perfect thing, then it could be maybe coming up more smarter. I mean, we are not talking about some other people. I'm talking about our within what I can see within the family. Some of my brother, some of my sister, some of my friends who are very clever, who are not clever, who are just acting very small. Those are the development of a complexity. But we are talking about how the single cell is alive. Because I have seen one of a deep undersea up to the 5,000 meter, and they still found a life of a single cell, which is very simple, not a single one. It's a very simple life. It's up to now still alive down there. And I also heard that, the goldfish, which already have 300 years under deep sea and very cold one and still alive. And then the beans also have been 1,000 years down there and under the earth. And then when they get it out and stimulate it, and that starts growing. So how does all these single cells arrive in the past?
Yeah, but I just remember one thing. From Hong Kong, the aquatic fish. Hong Kong is a major center for selling aquatic fish for the aquariums. Because why it developed into the commercial hub? One of those sellers invented one method is to froze the fish.
Yeah.
and then ship it out frozen. And then when you put the fish back in water, it come back live.
Oh,
Goodness.
Yes,
Ah.
yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
I remember that. Okay, there are some techniques. So live, I know this is now beyond another region, is life and death. What is the boundary? What do you call life and what do you call the life and end? It is no longer life, it's dead. So we also have that boundary as well. Now we talk about an egg fertilized, so that's the beginning of life. Where is that? There's argument on there. For end of life, there's also another argument. When is that end of life? You, for example, one day I will choose, okay, I want to frozen myself and then ask somebody to unfrozen me, say 100 years later. So in between these 100 years, am I alive or dead? Even if I can recover, become live again. So within that period, is that life or dead? Am I still a living organ or just a hard frozen pile of meat?
You see, Albert Ibbs, currently a lot of the family who does not have children, so the lady put the eggs and then ask the husband have the sperm and then keeps, or say maybe it's one of our wealthy people down here also keep the sperms in the bank and give one, and then they can one day they can just take it out and
Fertilize it and then put it into some. Now we have this already. We have is that called surrogate mother? Yeah, we have surrogate mother. You can have some women donate an egg, some men donate some sperm, get them fertilized, and another woman rents her womb
yes.
so that you get a baby born. So where is the boundary of life here? Where is the boundary? So I originally didn't expect to go into this more complex model issues. I was trying to focus on the beginning of life.
What I mean is even the single egg and the single sperm, that is all the life down there. But
Yeah.
their life is so simple. They haven't get any reaction. They haven't developed into the
Yeah,
complexity.
so just a
Yeah.
simple egg, okay?
Yeah.
Just an egg is that life because it has the potential to develop into a life.
But if that single sperm is not life, then it won't be anything. That's why the billion of sperm, only one which is successful can strongly can
Get in, yeah.
can react with the earth, with the egg. Otherwise, there is no life. If there is no life, then what we are talking about how this life began. This
So
is
that
what's interesting.
now again, as I said, this is a very difficult issue. I bring it out because we can have an intelligent discussion about that, but we have to move on because we can be stuck here forever.
Yeah.
So next week,
Again, it's just like a crystallinity.
yep,
Crystal.
crystal.
It starts from one molecule. It can be like a carbon itself.
Yeah.
And then from there, it can just grow. How the carbon? You know that the graphic itself.
Yeah.
The graphic which consists only the carbon. And that is multiple carbon becomes of a core. But that carbon, we are calling it life or not life. If not life, how can carbon can grow another carbon? And then more and more, and then become the core.
Become
And
life.
then
So, okay, actually, life is a very complex
yes,
thing.
right.
It's
yes.
complexity. So, once something gone beyond a certain complexity, we will see that as life. For a crystal, it is growing, but it's not complex.
Okay.
The crystal structure itself is just a simple replication of the original structure. So it's structure, expanding. Whereas life is complexity expanding.
See, once I just go back again. The graphic itself, we are looking at it is the things. It is not a human. It's not a life. But the carbon itself, it becomes the graphic. How the carbon itself, if it's not grow, but his life is still at a very simple thing. But has not. If you say maybe their life is at a very low level of what's
Low level of the life scale.
that scale.
Yeah,
right.
you create a life scale. So somewhere we cross over and say this is life.
Yeah.
But where do you cross over is a very difficult question, because that is a very long gray area.
Yeah.
Yes.
But somehow we know that somehow life do cross over, become so complex, we call it life today. And life today seems to be autonomous. We started the thinking, we started acting, we do editing, responding. We are a self-replicating unit. This unit somehow will also stress out and then eventually die. So there's also another issue about the death. But
That's why the Einstein's brain still keeping in the lab.
yeah.
Try to find out how it works. You see.
But I don't think it had captured the essence, because once your brain is dead, something else has changed. I don't know
Of
what's
course.
changed to
Of
it.
course.
Of course. But anyway, I think today's discussion is very
Can I
interesting.
end with a joke? Sam, you were talking about is an egg life? It reminds me of the plot of an episode of Hancock's Half Hour, where the local vicar persuades Tony Hancock to have some orphans over for Christmas dinner. And because the orphans are coming, he gives them a chicken to roast to give to the orphans. And Tony Hancock eats the chicken and says to the kids, I've got something better than that big, hunky, large chicken. I've got a very young chicken for you. And he brings out one boiled egg.
Okay, thank you. And then we'll end here, and then we'll see you again in the China Today.
Yeah, I'll see you over the other side.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you, Albert.
Thank you, everybody. Today's discussion is very
Okay.
good. Thank you very much.
I'll see you in 5, Albert.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.